All right, let's jump right in. We hear these huge terms all the time, right? Like the circular economy. But, the biggest changes in history, they almost never start with some massive, complicated plan. They start with something small, something that just works. So today, we're going to explore how the entire blueprint for a regenerative economy might actually begin in the one place you'd never think to look.
So that brings up the big question. Where does a revolution actually begin? I mean, really, it's not usually in a fancy boardroom or a government building. It starts with a single, simple idea that can be copied and can grow. And that question, well, that's at the very heart of what we're talking about today.
Okay, so on one side, you've got this incredible, grand vision, permaculture industrial parks. Think entire industrial ecosystems where waste literally doesn't exist. And on the other side, the starting point. Just one plain old parking lot. The distance between those two seems massive, right? But what if I told you the path from that parking lot to that park is a surprisingly straight line?
And this isn't just wishful thinking. There's a pattern to this stuff. The electric grid, it didn't start by trying to power the whole planet. It started with just 59 customers in a tiny piece of Manhattan. The internet, it wasn't born as this global web connecting all of us. Nope, it was a simple messaging system for the military. Every huge system we depend on today had a humble, practical start. The circular economy, it's going to be the exact same story.
So, how do we actually start building this thing? Well, to get any revolution moving, you need an engine, a simple, powerful engine. And in our case, that engine is something called the virtual power plant.
So what on earth is a virtual power plant, or VPP? Well, imagine a whole bunch of separate solar panels and batteries, all scattered around. By themselves, they're pretty small. But if you link them all up with software, you can get them to act together like a single giant power plant. They can sell stability back to the main grid when it needs it most. And the best part? They make a profit doing it.
And the beauty of this whole model is just how simple it is. Step 1. Solar panels make power when the sun's out. Step 2. Batteries save that energy for later. Then, Step 3. When the grid gets stressed, the system is smart enough to sell that stability back to it. Which leads to the most important part, Step 4. The owner gets a steady, recurring paycheck. This isn't just a project, it's a real business.
But okay, a VPP needs a place to live, right? A reason to exist in the physical world. And this is where we build the bridge from a cool idea to a real-life location, using something that, let's be honest, we all need a lot more of: EV charging stations.
For years, solar installers have been kind of stuck. They install a system, get paid, and then it's on to the next job, and the next, and the next. They're basically contractors. This model, though, it lets them make a huge leap. They can go from just being contractors to becoming owner-operators of a whole portfolio of assets that make them money month after month.
And this is where it all just clicks. Look at how this works. The owner-operator, they're making money from the VVP payments and from the EV charging fees. The grid gets the stability it desperately needs. Drivers get a convenient place to charge up. And the store that hosts the station? It gets more people walking in the door. It's not just a win-win. It's a win-win-win. Everybody comes out ahead.
Now, once this parking lot model is proven, and it will be, we can take that exact same logic and point it at a much, much bigger problem. We can start turning some of our ugliest environmental liabilities into really valuable assets. And what I'm talking about here are brownfields. Just take a second and look at that number. 450,000. That's the estimate for how many polluted, abandoned industrial sites are just sitting there right now in the US alone. It's a staggering problem, but it's also a staggering opportunity.
See, these places are basically trapped. They're old factories, abandoned gas stations, places where the cost to clean up the mess is so high that no developer will touch them. So they just sit there for decades. They're not just empty land. They are a financial and environmental liability pretending to be land.
But here comes the game changer. The old way of thinking was simple. Cleanup is just a cost, a giant hole you pour money into. The new way of thinking, powered by our little parking lot model, completely flips that script. Now, the revenue you can make from a VPP built on that site can actually pay for the cleanup. The asset literally funds its own healing.
Okay, so now let's zoom all the way out to the full vision. This is where it gets really mind-blowing. This is where all these little pieces come together to create a self-funding, self-healing industrial ecosystem.
We're talking about using cool techniques like phytoremediation, where you plant specific plants that literally suck heavy metals and other nasty stuff right out of the soil. But then, and this is the key, that plant matter isn't waste. You process it. You pull out valuable materials for reuse, and the byproducts, they get fed right back into the energy system. Your waste becomes your feedstock. The cleanup itself starts making you money.
And let's be really clear about this. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky, utopian fantasy. This big, incredible vision, it's just the logical endpoint of all the practical, profitable steps we just walked through. Every successful parking lot project builds the money and the trust to tackle a brownfield, and every restored brownfield proves the case for doing another one. And this is what we're building towards. This is the goal, a permaculture industrial park. It's a site where every single system, energy, materials, biology, is designed to help and reinforce all the others. Nothing is wasted. The site doesn't just stop being a problem, it becomes a powerful, regenerative force. Which brings us right back to where we started. The path from the economy we have now to a truly circular one, the path from a polluted wasteland to a regenerative industrial park, that path runs straight through a parking lot. It starts small, it starts smart, and it can start right now.
So think about it. The technology exists, the business model is profitable, the grid needs this, and those 450,000 sites are just waiting. They're waiting to be healed. So the only real question left is, what's the next step?